Call to order the Town of Lake Lure Town Council regular meeting Tuesday, August the 8th at 5 p.m. Would you please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather this evening. As we go into tonight's proceeding, let us lead with discernment and wisdom. Thank you to all of the staff of this wonderful town that help provide our day-to-day operations to ensure public safety and to ensure that we have a generational, beautiful location to enjoy for many decades to come. Be with our emergency personnel and our police and fire officers as they go about their day-to-day operations, tirelessly protecting our community. Thank you for everything you do. We're grateful for your presence, grace, and mercy. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Patrick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Question I didn't ask you about where the general said the breweries and restaurants, they want to do that? No. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. As always, are there any edits to the agenda?
Make a motion, we adopt the agenda as written.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then the agenda is adopted unanimously as posted. Mayor's communications tonight, I'm delighted that you are all here. As always, we welcome your input, and it just makes it a better meeting when you're here. Thank you for coming. We will next go to the town manager's communications. Mr. Perkins.
Okay. All right, I'll go through the highlights here. For public services, Hydro was happy to announce that they, the plant produced from June 20th to July 20th, Hydro making an estimated $76,000. That's another high month for us, and I credit that towards the power purchase agreement that we had entered into last year for it.
Sure.
The water department replaced 6 new taps and installed 62 water meters in the month. Moving on to community development, they had 28 permits for the month of July as compared to 22 in June. And that included 13 for zoning, 2 for lake structure, and 2 for land disturbance. Moving forward into fire and emergency management, they had 226 hours of training this month. They also performed maintenance to their scuba equipment and then had an inspection and maintenance for their fireboat. For the police, they reported 106.76 hours of lake patrol. And then they were able to sell our 2001 Jeep Cherokee that sold on GovDeals. I think that's a good thing to make note of for everyone. When we have surplus property, we do sell that through GovDeals. That's something that anybody can go on there and have an opportunity to bid on for equipment that we're disposing of. And then we're the department is also thrilled to have sworn on Officer Keith Morris. They did that on July 25th. He comes to us from the Tryon PD and will be working for us as a reserve officer. Moving forward to Parks, Recreation, and Lake. In addition to the details that they gave on their many, trails and the maintenance for it, they did report 414 hours of volunteer last month as well. For finance, the town continued to sustain its strong financial position with an unreconciled bank balance of approximately $9,438,387.64 for all funds other than special revenues or the dam fund, which still holds a balance of approximately $16.5 million, as well as accumulated interest of $264,487.05 for a total balance of $16,764,487.05. Powellville Street certification and expenditures reports have been submitted for the fiscal year 2023. For communication, they had 25 news articles they published with a reach of 2,019 citizens, and when I say they, that's Laura Creedy. The town of Lake Lure now has 19,903 followers on Facebook as of July 2023, This represents an 8% increase over the same period for last year. And then for website users, we had a 53% increase from July 2023 over July 2022. Those numbers of website users were 29,440. And for the manager's report, we continue to work with the project manager for Ruby Collins and Labella on the new sewer system planning. And last month, we also worked with the council in approving an extension to the concession agreement. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Busy month, as always. All right, we'll move on then to the council liaison reports and comments. Commissioner Duster.
Yes, ma'am. The Zoning and Planning Board met July 18th. Discussions were based a little bit on requests from the chamber and kind of updating some things in the town about bars versus restaurants, et cetera. Nothing's really completed there yet. We still have a lot more digging to do. We have some research to do with the state and their people. We also, we're looking at updating lake structure on inflatable platforms, the swim platforms that people have, the trampolines. There's some wording in there that we may change from, and just get rid of the word inflatable and just go with the platform that's already there. I think you guys may have talked a little bit about that in LAB, so. ABC met July 17th. There is, as we all know, we did have Earl Russell's passing about a month or so ago. And we have new assistant manager. You guys have seen her in there. She's been working for a while. Does a great job. There are one new part-time position available. So if anybody out here is looking for something to do part-time, need to be able to lift some boxes, but they're looking for somebody. They will be having their end-of-the-year audit this month, and $25,000 increase in June from May of this year. So that's typical in the summertime here for sure. So that's it.
That sounds good. All right, thank you. Commissioner Diorio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Lake Advisory Board did meet this month. The bulk of the meeting was to prepare the lake use regulations for the annual adjustment coming up in the September Marine Commission. Of course, the highlights of that are to take a look at special fishing access, which has been requested of us from a number of people, and an adjustment to the non-motorized vessel policy. So that'll be coming up. That's ready to go under the leadership of Kathy there. We'll be ready to go for that. Other things, Gary Hassenfuss has developed a communication document from the fishing survey that we did to give to, I don't know if he's given that yet to Laura, but we're gonna get it to Laura. And for the town manager, it's a nice little synopsis that we may be able to post on the website, let everyone know what's going on with the fishing survey, which was a really good report. We have lots of bass in the lake. Some would say too many bass in the lake, and they're a little skinny, so we need to fatten them up a little bit, and we'll do that by taking more fish out with the new fishing access. So that's the way that'll work. I think that's it. That concludes my report.
Board adjustments didn't meet.
Board of Adjustments did meet normal course of affairs. I would say that an interesting thing has come up. So we changed the kind of the financial scheme of those who violated permits to doubling the cost with that. It's having an impact, an immediate impact. Of course, there are way too many people in violation of that, but people are taking notice of that. That's a good thing, because I think we'll see a reduced number of initial, begging forgiveness kind of violations with the BOA, so that's working
Good.
well.
Perfect. All right. Commissioner Proctor.
Parks and Rec did meet last week, along with the remarkable 414 volunteer hours. That does not include the volunteer hours at the Flowering Bridge. So just, again, the word remarkable comes to mind on how many volunteer hours our town citizens give to the town. The other thing is, there's been some questions about why some of the green space is blocked off. There's some pretty bad erosion going on that's predominantly caused by DOT culvert, and DOT's being real slow on that. But anyway, as soon as that's fixed, the town can fix the part that's on our property. There's evidently a really, really old drain field used to help add moisture to the golf course grass, and that's failing because of the other.
I did talk to the DOT engineer last week or 2 weeks ago, and they are gonna do some temporary concrete repairs in that culvert.
Good.
I've got no plans to replace it, but he's gonna try to patch in concrete for time.
Good.
Awesome.
Good news.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
All right, thank
That's-
you.
that's
That
all
is
I
good
have.
news. All right,
No reports from my side.
all right. I think that is all then for our, and thank you so much, everyone who's on the boards, we appreciate that, and also the council liaisons from the commission. Important we have that communication. We'll start with our presentations now, and we are delighted that we'll have our audit presentation. Steve, is Steve here? Oh, I couldn't see you, I saw you behind the screen. Steve, if you'd like to introduce.
Yes, thank you. At our last meeting, I mentioned that our audit report is ready for FY '22, and Ms. Jill Vang from Martin Starnes is here with us tonight. Jill's real pleasant to work with, great to work with, always understanding, but also very thorough, which is what we need, and we appreciate that. And so she's going to bring the presentation, and she'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. Like Steve said, my name is Jill Vang, and I'm from Martin Starnes and Associates, and I'll be presenting on fiscal year 2022 audited financial statements. Your audit report has been submitted to the Local Government Commission, and it was approved as of Friday, this past Friday, so they have accepted your audit report. Do I just click it? Oh, scroll. Okay, scroll down. Thank you. So I want to start off with some audit highlights. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best and clean opinion. We found no material misstatements that led us to believe the financial statements would be misleading to readers. This year was the first year in a long time that you guys actually had like a federal single audit. And so we tested one federal program, which was the Clean Water State Revolving Funds, and then one state program, which was the Water Resource Development Project, which that was your NCDEQ dredging grant. So there was two major programs that we tested this year. And then this year, I say this year, but I'm really meaning fiscal year 22. We also implemented GASB 87, which is the leases. And that is any leases that are over 12 months, you're recording a asset and a liability for your leases. So that's something new that has been done in the past, and that was implemented this year. In fiscal year 23, we do have a GASB 96 called SABITAS, the subscriptions-based information technology agreements that's going to be implemented fiscal year 23. And then we will discuss some performance indicators and findings towards the end of the audit presentation. This is self-reporting that's going to be required by the LGC, and that will be towards the end. Here we're going to look at the general fund summary of your revenues and expenses comparing 2021 to 2022. And revenues increased 2.3 million, or about 26%. And then expenditures increased 2 million, or about 26%. And then we'll look in details the top three and the top three revenues and expenses in upcoming slides. A performance ratio that the Local Government Commission looks at is this fund balance as a percentage of net expenditures. The town is in the category of general fund expenditures between 1 million and 9.9 million. The average fund balance as a percentage of net expenditures for units of this size is 63%, and with a minimum expectations of 34%. In 2022, the town's fund balance percentage was at 45%, which is in between those two numbers. The top three revenues in the general fund were ad valorem taxes at 50%, unrestricted intergovernmental revenues 23%, permits and fees at 9%, and all the other revenues made up 18%. The top three comprise of 7.4 million, or 82%, and we'll look at the top three in more detail next. Ad valorem taxes, this includes taxes, penalties, interest, as well as discounts. And that increased 986,000, or about 28% compared to prior year, and this was due to having a tax increase rate from 2021 to 2022. Unrestricted intergovernmental revenues, and these are made up of your local option sales tax, utility and video franchise taxes, as well as the beer and wine tax. And this increased about 456,000, or about 29%. And this was mainly, the increase was seen in the local option sales tax. Permits and fees, these are mainly the boating and zoning permits. There was an increase of 69,000, or 9%, and the increase we mainly saw in the zoning permits from 2021 to 2022. The top three expenditures in the general fund were culture and recreation, 26%, public safety, 22%, and general government at 17%, and then all the other expenditures made up 35%. The top three comprise of 5 million, or about 65% of total expenditures. And we'll look at details of the top three in the next couple slides as well. This is the general government expenditure, and this is the governing body, administration, central services, and those expenditures increased about 203,000, or 18%. And we saw an overall increase in all three of those departments. So there wasn't just one particular one, but all three overall. Public safety, this is your police, fire, EMS expenditures, and that decreased about 12,000, which is less than 1%, so very comparable to the year before. Culture and recreation expenditures, this includes your community development, parks, beach, marina, golf courses, and community center expenditures. And the expenditures increased about 623,000, or about 45%, and mainly due to dredging and debris removal that happened in 2022. So the town has three reserve funds. The silt removal fund balance is still at 64,000. There was no activity in fiscal year 22. The bridge preservation fund balance was at 75,000, which had no activity in fiscal year 2022. The capital reserve fund balance actually increased, is at 2.2 million, about 2.3 million, and that was due to a large transfer from the general fund, 1.6 million in fiscal year 2022 that came into this fund. Now we're going to look at the electric fund. The electric fund had a slight decrease in charges for services, about 406,000, or 56%. And that was due to, in 2022, the lake was down for 5 months because you guys had sewer maintenance and manhole upfit. So that, when it was down for 5 months, it had a decrease in charges for services. And then unrestricted net position decreased about $106,000, or 31%. The quick ratio here is for the electric fund, and this is something the LGC looks at. It's part of a performance indicator that's on the data input sheet. And the quick ratio is calculated by taking your current assets divided by your current liabilities. And then the LGC is normally concerned with anything less than 1. And so for fiscal year 2022, and it has been for the past couple years, the quick ratio is less than 1 for electric fund. So this is a negative performance indicator that the town will have to give a response back to the LGC about this. Now we're going to look at the water and sewer fund. The required debt service expenditure is comparable to prior year, just a slight decrease. Decrease is seen in the charges for services, about $46,000, about 3%, so that's still very comparable to prior year. And then there is an increase in the unrestricted net position of about $384,000, or 43%. This is the quick ratio for the water and sewer fund. And like I mentioned before, the LGC is normally concerned with a quick ratio less than 1. In 2022, the water and sewer quick ratio is at 2.32, which is above that minimum threshold. So I've spoke about the data input sheet. So along with the submission of the audit report to the LGC, we're required to complete a data input sheet with various financial information. Steve reviews it and certifies this template to be submitted. This template analyzes the data and provides result as performance indicators. Performance indicators ranges from deficit fund balance, statutory violations, or significant findings. And the town had both negative and positive performance indicators. The LGC requires self-reporting, like I mentioned earlier, because they no longer send unit letters. And within 60 days of this presentation, the board must issue a written response to the above with explanations and corrective actions. And this must include all negative performance indicators as long as the findings that are in the audit report. And this correspondence must be signed by board members, town manager, and the finance director. So we're gonna go through each one of these. The audit findings are in the audit report, and so I'm not gonna go through them in details. I'm just gonna mention them, and then if you guys have any questions, we can talk about them. The findings were late audit submission, segregation of duties, a bank reconciliation, significant audit adjustment findings, and then there were 2 compliance findings. And then what I had just mentioned earlier, the negative electric fund quick ratio that is less than 1. Here are some positive performance indicators that are on the LGC's data input sheet. As discussed earlier, the town's general fund balance available in fiscal year 2022, the percentage of expenditures is at 45%, which is in between that minimum of 34 and the average of 63. So that's a positive performance indicator. Also, as discussed earlier, the town's quick ratio for the water and sewer fund is above 1, so that's a positive performance indicator. The town also has a stable property tax collection at 99.3%, 99.34%, I'm sorry. And then the town has also met the water and sewer operating net income and cash expense ratio. And I want to thank you for your time, and I can take any questions if you guys have any at this time.
Any questions? Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very good and very concise and easy to understand.
I do have one question.
Commissioner
So,
Diorio does.
I found one number here pretty interesting, which is the amount of reserve that we have on hand. So we had an increase of expenditures naturally due to an influx of state appropriations, federal appropriations for the water and sewer system. So expenditures went up, and that requires us to keep more of a municipal reserve, because it went down, it went from like 60.
Which slide are you looking at?
I'm looking at slide number 4. So you take a look at fund balance available was 4 million, went down to, it stayed about the same at about 4 million, but the percentage of net expenditures goes from 68 to 45, which, and you told us 45 was in the mid-range. But the reason for that was not by municipal expenditures, it was due to an appropriation that increased our expenditures on the other end.
That plays a part into that too, correct?
Which is fascinating to me, because that's not, I mean, if you took a look at our normal course of business, that ratio is still 68% of our normal yearly operations. But because we're expending for the sewer system, we're required to keep more money on hand. Is that, I mean,
Does the sewer system expenditures come through the general fund? Because this is just general fund.
Well, what caused our expenditures to go from $6 to $8.5 million? That wasn't municipal spending, that was something else.
I don't have 2021 on me.
Do you see what I'm saying? So, that $2.5 million increase had to be due to our infrastructure expenditures.
I can look at that in more detail and get
Yeah.
back to Steve.
And so here's my overall question, let me get to the point. So, I would imagine that because of that, because we're gonna have a constant cash flow of money coming in and going towards the sewer fund, that's outside of a normal municipal appropriations, that shouldn't be included in our.
So big portion of this is when I talked about cultural and recreation, there was a
Yeah.
larger debris removal and,
Well, that's
so
another
that
example,
plays a
though.
part into it too,
Yeah,
yes.
That's a state appropriate, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So we're required to have a greater general fund balance available because of a significant increase in federal and state appropriated money coming in and going out for our infrastructure. And I find that kind of fascinating. Why would we would need to have a greater general fund balance to support that?
Most of the time, when you do get federal or state dollars in, it's like reimbursement basis, so it comes
Yeah.
in and out, so it's not really gonna affect your fund balance minimum here.
Yeah.
But things that are out of the ordinary, like how we had said, additional debris removal, things that
Yeah.
are not part of your normal course of business,
Yeah.
that you have to expend for, it does affect this percentage.
Okay, all right, I just think
Yeah.
that's fascinating, because I was surprised to see that number. Because our number's normally been in the
Right, the
greater than 50 range. I mean, we're still good, which is a good thing, but if you take a look at what we got in the future, when we're gonna spend millions of dollars, that cash flow is gonna require us to have more cash on hand in
Right.
the general fund, and I'm not so sure that we're prepared to do that, so.
I think you guys do have a big dam project coming up with,
Yeah.
that you guys received a lot of money, but that's sitting in a separate capital project fund.
Yeah.
Yes.
Until we start expending it, because we haven't expended any of it yet. Like this year, we're gonna expend $9 million. So the big question is that 8.5 million gonna go to 17.5 million, which is gonna require us to have a significant amount of money in our general fund, even though it's an external appropriation.
That'll be out of the dam fund, which is
Okay.
Fund 58 and Fund 20.
So it won't affect the general fund
No.
balance?
It won't show this.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I think what Jill said is the dredging, we increased, I think we went from a $500,000 grant to a
Million.
$750,000
Yeah.
grant on the dredging.
Yeah.
So that, I mean,
But that kind of washes itself out
Right.
too, because
Yeah.
it's like in and out from the federal and out.
But I still don't know why we went from 6 to 8.5. What's the $2.5 million? I don't know.
That's a lot of money.
Let me look at the slide real quick.
This slide here.
Because that's what made our number go down.
Really, it's these two.
Yeah, I know.
The
I
net
know.
expenditure.
But those are good numbers. Right.
This?
Yeah, because of this. Because of this. What caused that? I don't know.
Right.
We're gonna have to look at the expenditures.
Yeah, let me, just so I won't
Yeah.
say something off the cuff and have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
revisit.
Will you get back to me on
Yeah,
that?
I will please,
You-
yeah.
You
I'll
see,
definitely
you
put
see
that-
which number I'm taking a look at?
Agree,
one?
yeah, from the 5.9 to the 8.7, yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Which,
have-
which is requiring us to have a greater general fund balance on hand, which is awkward to me.
Right,
don't
yeah, and I think that
understand why
can
we
be
do that.
easily explained. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that it's in the right categories with that, I tell you,
Okay.
and in the right amounts.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Right.
That's fine.
Could be Brown. Think?
Not in 20.
Any other questions?
That's right.
I have none at this time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
We
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
And thanks to everybody who worked on this audit. I know collaboratively with you too, Jill, but Steve and the whole finance department and every department here. So, good job. Next year it'll be a piece of cake. Oh, Lori.
It's always a piece.
So we had a 2.5.
Moving on here. We'll we'll move on to our public comment. There was only one individual who signed up. If after that person speaks, anyone else would like to speak, if you'll just please come up to the podium and give your name and your address. And anyone who does speak gets 3 minutes to share your comments with us, and we welcome them. So, Mr. Ron, is it Nitech? Nitech.
Madam Mayor, gentlemen, as I noticed when you first got the paper, people were asking, where's Howell Road? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where
But
I,
Jim Proctor knows where every road is
He
in
is.
this town, so
They all are.
I don't care how old it is or how small, so
And
we're lucky.
Patrick
but
does
thank-
also.
And Patrick as well, yes.
Yeah, Patrick.
and that's what I wanted to discuss. But let me give you a little backstory first. I proudly served in the United States Air Force. At my retirement, they decided to give me a medical retirement, so I'm a 100% disabled vet. Today is my 3rd day out of my wheelchair, but the way I'm feeling, tomorrow I may not be standing again. So every day I walk, I thank God for that. But I wanted to tell you, my wife is also a neonatal nurse practitioner, and she works in Denver, Colorado. So for weeks, she'll be out of town, she'll come back into town, maybe a week, go back and forth. And while she's doing that, we can't enjoy kayaking or the beach or anything. But I went to Parks and Rec. They told me that I'm not a Lake Lure resident, even though my address states that. I, can't see paying $100 for 2 paddle boards and 2 kayaks that may not be used during the year. So that'd be $400 I'd be out if my wife constantly goes and I'm back in my wheelchair. My address states that. That's the only reason that I bought that home, is because it said Lake Lure. And I know the residents get a little bit of a discount. We're volunteering for the Dancing Festival, Flowering Bridge, and a few other things. And should I decide to run for city council, as I've been a councilman before, I would be unable to. I would like to see, the line is right where my home is. So it puts me outside of city limits, but gives me the address of Lake Lure, if you want to look that up. Patrick did yesterday and told me I'm just outside of city limits. So I would like to request the possibility of having the Lake Lure benefits, since my address is there, instead of having to pay non-resident fees for everything. Last year, I couldn't get out of my wheelchair at all. I'm spinal cord injury, double amputee, lost my right leg, my left foot in Afghanistan. So with the spinal cord injury, that's what puts me back in my wheelchair. But I thank you for your time and consideration in this matter, and I hope it does get approved, because maybe one day I'd like to sit where one of you are sitting, should someone decide not to run, or if I decide to run. But
And we thank you for your service, first of all.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the consideration.
Certainly welcome.
Thank you very much.
Do I have any questions?
I don't think so.
No, not right now, no. And I made comments earlier to the council also.
Okay,
So, and I'll pass on some more information to them later.
perfect. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Madam Mayor.
You're certainly welcome. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Then we will move on to our next, to the consent agenda. Are there any edits, changes to the consent agenda? Or do I hear a motion to accept it?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as approved, or as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the consent agenda is approved as posted. We have no unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. The first item on new business, A, resolution number 23-08-08B, approving the change order to Sinagro Agreement for Lake Lure Wastewater Treatment Facility sludge removal. It's a mouthful. would anyone like to
If
add any
anyone
more
has any,
information?
if anyone has any questions about this, then Mr. Lindsay is here to answer those questions. Basically, this is a change order to an existing 2020 agreement, and while I guess we were debating it in town, Paul, the necessity for the town council to approve it is probably uncertain, but we giving the estimated amount is $100,000 for the change order, and it is a change order to a multi-year contract. We brought that before the council this evening for approval.
Right, and we discussed this at our working meetings, I think.
This is the same one we
It
discussed.
It is for
It is.
sludge removal.
It
Okay.
is. So are there any other questions or comments about this? Then do I hear a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 23-08-08B, approving change order to Centergrow Agreement for Lake Lure Wastewater Treatment Facility sludge removal.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And budget amendment number 364 for Sinagro Agreement Contract Order is unanimously approved.
No, actually,
No,
that's-
No.
That
That's
was
the
for the
next one.
agreement.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I
Yeah.
beg your pardon, For Lake Lure Wastewater Treatment Facility sludge removal is unanimously approved. We'll move on then to B, budget amendment number 354 for Sinagro Agreement Change Order, which is page 88.
Yes, ma'am. The budget amendment is related to the contract that we just approved for it. This is to place $100,000 into the line item that will be able to pay for the sludge removal.
All right?
And this will come from the water and sewer fund balance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to adopt budget amendment number 354 for Sinagro Agreement Contract Order.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then budget amendment number 354 for Sinagro Agreement Change Order is unanimously approved. We'll move on to item C, budget amendment number 355 for 177 Tryon Bay Circle demolition.
Okay. Our project manager, working with a local engineer, did come up with a bid opening for the demolition of this home. We had the low bidder of D.H. Griffin, who came in at $80,850 for that demolition. The contract does not need council approval due to its amount, but we do need the approval of the change order to fund the amount for the demolition.
All right, Do I hear a
Make a
motion?
motion to adopt budget amendment number 355 for 177 Tryon Bay Circle demolition.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Then budget amendment number 355 for 177 Tryon Bay Circle demolition is approved unanimously. We'll move on to item D, resolution number 23 dash, go ahead.
Piggyback.
My name is Garland Pruitt. I live next door to the property that we're talking about. And I can tell you emphatically, that everybody on that code has had a big jump in their morale because of this. You guys have made more progress in the last 14 years. 14 years we've put up with that, and it's not just an eyesore, it's not just, something that should be done. We're just plain lucky that somebody hasn't been hurt. So I hope you guys don't stop and don't slow down, as they say. So let's get this thing done, and I want to thank you for your effort. And I guess I'll finish by saying, that usually I'm adversarial. Please don't put me back in that arena.
We will not.
Can I
We're
ask
happy to
Yeah,
bring
Let
it
me
to
ask something
resolution.
right quick, Michael. I know we talked the other night when we talked about these guys, you said they would, once they were given the bid, it'd be pretty quick. Do you have any clue of a time frame? I know these folks are all here, so I thought might be appropriate.
The project schedule is 3 to 4 weeks. We're hoping everything goes right. We may see dump trucks there on August 14th.
Yeah.
And we've asked them not to work on Friday, so people coming into town can enjoy the lake. So hopefully the August 14th will start, 3 to 4 weeks, and only working 4-day work weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know, Hank, we talked about some notice for those folks again to
We're,
just,
we're gonna be working with our communications wonderful person, Laura Creegee.
I can't see her, she needs to move.
Yeah.
I don't even know she's there.
Tucked away in the corner.
She's there.
And
I found her.
Laura, do you want to cover any of your initial ideas for communication?
As soon as I get waiting on a traffic control plan or a traffic plan idea
Okay.
from the contractor.
Okay.
When I get that, we'll do one package and.
Perfect.
I'll
Yeah.
go help with it.
I just,
Perfect.
since these guys are all here and,
Yeah. A direct mail.
yep,
Okay.
great.
Sure.
Thank you both for all
guys.
your hard work.
Yep, thanks.
You may be sorry you spoke up.
Thank you very much for being here tonight.
We'll move on then to item D, resolution number 23-08-08C, amending the 2023-2024 lake drawdown schedule. Do you want to do that?
Go ahead, Mike.
Probably several months ago, I asked the council to you can draw the lake down for 5 months, and the council wants you guys to enjoy the lake as long as possible. The reservoir drain project, they're not able to get, because of a lot of things, just everything going on with supply chain. The reservoir drain, project is the 2 big valves gonna go on the bottom of the lake for the dam. They're not able to procure the material until the middle of December, so they asked that we do not draw the lake down until January 1st. Starting January 1st, till March 31st, you guys will see sewer activity in Sunset Cove for the sewer stuff, and then between now and, probably next April, you'll see work on the downstream side of the dam. So, we're only drawing down 3 months this year.
Thank you, and
Yep.
as you remember, when we started this from the very beginning, we all decided as a community that we know this is gonna be going on for maybe 10, 12 years, what we're doing, but we're always gonna endeavor to keep the lake up as much as we can when there's not something else being done, and also to let everybody know with as much notice as we can when it is gonna be down, not just for the people, for the hospitality, but also for everybody's enjoyment and their families. So we appreciate your patience in that and your support as we've moved through this. So do I hear a motion then to approve
I'll make
this
a,
resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2308-08C, amending the 2023-2024 lake drawdown schedule as presented.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then, resolution number 23-08-08C, amending 2023-2024 lake drawdown schedule is approved. We'll move on then to the last item under new business, which is E, amend the 2023 town council meeting schedule to hold the August work session meeting on August 16th.
Yes, ma'am. The meeting schedule originally as adopted had the August work session for the 23rd. Council, during its last work session, wanted to accelerate that, so we've moved the work schedule to next week on the 16th. This is a formality to go ahead and amend the meeting schedule to reflect that change.
And it will be at the same time at 8:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to amend the 2023 Town Council meeting schedule to hold the August work session meeting on August 16th, and I appreciate the council doing that, because I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to go otherwise.
And we need you there.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Then, the amendment, it passed unanimously to amend the 2023 Town Council meeting schedule to hold the August work session meeting on August 16th at 8:30 a.m. We appreciate your being here and your participating. The next item is a closed session, and we will not have any further business after that. So you are free to enjoy the wonderful refreshments. We will take a 5-minute break before we go into closed session. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we take a 5-minute break and then go into closed session in accordance with GS 143-318.11A3 for attorney-client privilege and GS 143-318.11A5S, for the purpose of discussing property acquisitions.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then unanimously, we are going into closed session. Thank you again for coming. We
Thank you all.
appreciate it.